Welcome to our deep dive. Today we're exploring strategies for reclaiming your time and attention in our tech-saturated world. We've got a fascinating book to unpack, Make Time, by Knapp and Zeratsky.
Oh, interesting.
Now these guys, they're former Google designers, so they
hmm
actually helped create some of the very apps that, well, we might be trying to escape.
Oh, wow, that's kind of ironic, isn't it?
It is, a bit.
But I guess that also gives them a really unique perspective, right?
Totally. And you know what? They're not saying we need to ditch technology altogether.
Right.
They love gadgets. Jake even, he stayed up all night to order the newest iPhone.
Okay, so they're not like Luddites or anything.
No, not at all. What they focus on in the book is finding smarter ways to use technology without letting it kind of take over our whole lives.
Makes sense. That resonates with, I think, a lot of the conversations happening right now around mindful tech use.
Exactly. And they talk about this struggle,
Yeah.
this like daily tug of war we face between two forces.
Oh.
They call it the busy bandwagon, which is like our culture of just crazy schedules and to-do lists that never end.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that.
And then there's what they call infinity pools. And those are, those bottomless apps like email and social media, the ones designed to just suck us in for hours.
Oh, I see those apps that just never end. Like you can just keep scrolling and scrolling.
Exactly.
And they prey on our need to just keep up and stay connected.
Exactly. It's tough,
Mhm.
And the authors, they admit they felt this too. One of them even said he basically like forgot 2 whole months of his life because it was just such a blur.
Wow.
So that's when they started, really experimenting with ways to reclaim their time. They turned their own lives into like personal design projects,
Huh.
trying different things and sharing what they learned with hundreds of people through Google Ventures design sprints.
Wow, so they really went all in, huh? Using design principles to tackle time management.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's how they came up with their, what they call the Make Time framework. It's a 4-step system. You've got highlight, laser, energize, and reflect. So to start, let's dive into highlight.
All right, let's do it. What is highlight?
Well, it's all about pinpointing that one focal point for your day. It could be a work project. It could be something creative, quality time with someone, really anything that truly matters most to you.
Okay, so it's like choosing the most important thing you want to accomplish that day.
Yeah, it's like giving your day like a North Star. Instead of being swept away by everything, you're intentionally charting a course.
I like that. So instead of just reacting to things, you're being proactive.
Exactly. Now, they have all these tactics to make this happen. One that I find really helpful is what they call groundhog it.
Groundhog it, like the movie.
Yeah, kinda. Basically, if you had a really productive day yesterday and accomplished a specific task really well, you just repeat it. Do it again today.
Oh, that's interesting. So you build on that momentum, right? Less decision fatigue, more focus.
Exactly. You already know what works, so just keep going. Now, another really crucial tactic is something they call stack ranking your life.
Stack ranking your life. Okay, that sounds intense.
It is a little, well, it's about honestly evaluating your commitments, both personal and professional. And then you figure out, like, what actually aligns with your values and goals.
I see. So you're prioritizing based on what truly matters to you.
Exactly. You're forced to realize you can't do everything, so where do you want to invest your time and energy? And then, there are those tasks that aren't super urgent, but they're always kind of nagging at you in the back of your mind. For those, they suggest a might-do list.
Okay, a might-do list. So it's not a must-do, but it's still there.
Exactly. It's like acknowledging those things without letting them take up too much mental space. And then, of course, there's the good old burner list for those super time-sensitive tasks.
Oh, yeah, like those urgent things that pop up.
Yep. That way, they're not cluttering up your main to-do list.
That makes sense. Keep those separate. So once we've picked our highlight, what's next?
The next step is all about protecting that precious time from distraction. And that's where laser comes in.
Okay, laser. So we're focusing in on that highlight now.
Precisely. And it's about understanding that distractions are inevitable, so we need to, like, arm ourselves to fight back against them.
It's like becoming a warrior against distraction.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So they have a whole bunch of techniques for making sure you actually get to spend time on your highlight. One is to actually schedule it on your calendar, like it's an important meeting.
So you're treating it with the same level of importance as any other commitment.
Right. It makes it real, and it signals to yourself and other people that this time block is non-negotiable.
I like that. So it's visually there on your calendar, reminding you.
Exactly. They also suggest adding a do not schedule block on your calendar.
Ooh, interesting. Like a buffer zone.
Yes.
Yes.
To prevent those, like, encroaching commitments that always seem to pop up.
So you're proactively protecting that time.
Exactly. And then they even suggest something kind of radical, um, bulldozing your calendar.
Bulldozing your calendar, what does that even mean?
Basically, it means compressing or rearranging meetings to free up larger chunks of uninterrupted time.
Oh, I see. So you're not just accepting that meetings have to take up huge amounts of your time?
Right. It's about taking control back.
Yeah.
They also have some interesting ideas about commitments in general.
Okay. Like what?
Sometimes they say you just gotta flake.
Flake.
Yeah, like on those low priority obligations, the ones that don't really matter.
Oh, okay. To prioritize the highlight, the thing that's truly important.
Exactly. And it goes hand in hand with, learning to say no to new commitments that don't actually align with your goals.
Right. Setting boundaries and saying no to things that don't serve you.
Yes. And they also advocate for what they call designing your day hour by hour.
Hour by hour. Sounds pretty rigid.
It might sound that way, but actually it gives you more freedom because you're making fewer decisions throughout the day.
Oh, I see. So you're not constantly deciding what to do next. You've already planned it out.
Exactly. It helps you shift from reactive mode to a more proactive mode.
So you're shaping your day instead of letting it shape you.
Precisely. And then they have this interesting tactic battle. It's about whether it's better to be a morning person or, optimize your evening routine.
Ah, the classic debate.
Yeah. And they don't really say one's better than the other. It's more about understanding your own rhythms and designing your schedule accordingly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Some people thrive in the morning, others are night owls.
Exactly. Figure out what works for you. They also emphasize the importance of, quitting when you're done, setting a clear boundary for your workday.
Oh, yeah, that's super important. Prevent work from bleeding into your personal life.
Absolutely. Create space for rest and rejuvenation. Now, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about those infinity pools we mentioned before. Those apps and websites designed to keep us endlessly engaged.
Right, those things that just suck you in.
So why are they so hard to resist? Well, the authors believe it's a combination of factors. First, they say there's genuine passion that goes into creating these products.
So the people who make them really believe in them, and that enthusiasm kind of rubs off on us?
Exactly. And then there's the constant innovation, the continuous improvement, the new features, updates. They're all competing for our attention.
It's like this endless cycle of novelty.
Right. And then, there's also the competition within the tech industry itself. So everyone's trying to create the most compelling product, the best user experience.
So it's this battle for our attention.
Exactly. And I think most importantly, these technologies, they tap into our biological wiring. Our brains, they crave novelty, they crave stimulation.
So those pings and notifications and all that, that's all designed to trigger those reward pathways in our brain.
Exactly. Makes it hard to disengage. Plus, there's this fundamental conflict of interest. Tech companies, they make money off our engagement.
Oh, right. So the more time we spend on their platforms, the more money they make.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is why willpower alone, it's often just not enough. We need to create barriers, redesign our environment, our habits, make it harder to give in to those temptations.
So it's not just about trying to be stronger, it's about making it harder for ourselves to even be tempted in the first place.
Exactly. We need to be more strategic about it. So let's talk about some tactics, some specific things we can do to become the boss of our phone. And they actually suggest trying a distraction-free phone.
A distraction-free phone? What's that?
Basically, you strip your phone down to the bare essentials. You remove apps, you log out of accounts, you disable those pesky notifications. It's like a digital detox for your phone.
Wow, that's a pretty radical idea.
It is. But they say it can be incredibly liberating. So they have a list of apps they suggest removing to start with. First up, social media apps.
Yeah, makes sense. Those can be major time wasters.
Definitely. And then they also suggest getting rid of games.
Games, yeah, those can be addictive too.
And then news apps. They argue that, that constant barrage of negative news, it just brings down your mood and your focus.
It's important to stay informed, but maybe not constantly throughout the day.
Exactly. Choose your news sources carefully and consume it more intentionally. Then there's shopping apps for those who struggle with, impulsive spending.
Yeah, those can be dangerous too, especially with how easy they make it to just buy things with one click.
Exactly. And then, of course, streaming apps.
So you're not constantly tempted to just watch one more episode.
Right. And then for some people, even removing email accounts from their phone.
That's a big one.
It is, but it can be so freeing, to just disconnect from that constant stream of messages.
Mm.
And then they even suggest, like, the ultimate digital detox, which is removing the web browser from your phone.
Wow, no web browser at all.
Yep. It's about creating that friction, making it more difficult to get sucked in to all those online distractions.
I can see how that would be really helpful.
And then, if completely removing apps feels too extreme, they offer other tactics, like logging out of apps and websites.
So you have to make a conscious effort to log back in each time.
Exactly, it breaks that automatic habit. And then, of course, nixing notifications.
Oh, the notifications. Those can be the worst.
They are, and such a distraction. They even suggest something simple. Wear a wristwatch.
Okay, a wristwatch.
Yeah, so you don't have to check your phone for the time,
Hmm.
which often leads to other, unintended distractions.
Oh, that's smart. It's like removing those little triggers that can lead us down a rabbit hole.
Exactly. And sometimes they even say just leave your phone behind altogether.
Like when?
When you're spending time with people, having a meal, going for a walk, just disconnect and be present in the moment.
Yeah, that's good advice. It's so easy to get sucked into our phones and miss out on what's happening around us.
So with all that in mind, let's dive into some specific laser tactics, things we can do to stay out of those infinity pools. A good place to start is skipping the morning check-in.
Skip the morning check-in. You mean like not checking email and social media first thing?
Exactly. Don't start your day by getting sucked into that vortex.
I see. So preserve that morning time for something more intentional.
Yes. And another important tactic is to block what they call your distraction kryptonite.
Distraction kryptonite? What's that?
It's those specific apps or websites are your biggest time wasters.
Oh, so it's like identifying your weaknesses.
Exactly. Recognize those temptations and limit your exposure to them. They also suggest ignoring the news, at least for a while.
Again with the news.
Yeah, they're pretty adamant about this one. They say the constant barrage of negativity, it's just not good for our mental well-being.
It's not about being uninformed. It's about choosing when and how you engage with the news.
Right. Don't let it consume you. And then, when you are finished with those online activities, put your toys away, as they say.
Toys away.
Yeah, so close tabs, log out of accounts, tidy up your digital space.
Oh, I see. So it's like signaling to your brain that you're done.
Exactly. And when you're traveling, embrace those moments of forced disconnection, like flying without Wi-Fi.
Oh, yeah. Those can be great opportunities to read, relax, or just get some work done.
Totally. Or try putting a timer on your internet usage.
So you're more aware of how much time you're spending online.
Exactly. Makes you more mindful. And for some people, they even suggest canceling the internet altogether.
Canceling the internet, that's pretty extreme.
It is. But they say it can be really eye-opening in terms of how much we rely on it and how much time we waste online.
Wow, I guess that would force you to find other things to do.
Exactly. They also warn us about time craters, those seemingly small distractions that actually eat up huge chunks of our time.
Oh, like when you just want to quickly check something online and then an hour later?
Exactly. It happens to the best of us. They encourage us to, focus on those real wins instead of those, like, fake wins we get from checking off trivial tasks or online achievements.
So prioritize what truly matters.
Exactly. And while they acknowledge that distractions can be detrimental, they also recognize that sometimes they can serve a purpose. It's about being intentional.
Intentional about how and when we use certain apps and websites.
Exactly, like turning distractions into tools. And they also suggest becoming a fair weather fan of anything that consumes too much time or emotional energy without providing much value in return.
So be selective about your passions, choose those that really enrich your life.
Exactly. Now let's talk about taming those inboxes. They suggest tackling email at the end of the day. That way you're not starting your day by getting bogged down in messages.
Yeah, that makes sense. Save your peak productivity hours for other things.
Right. Another strategy is to schedule specific time for email each day.
So you're not constantly checking it throughout the day.
Exactly. And they even suggest only emptying your inbox once a week.
Once a week.
Yeah, instead of striving for that inbox zero every day.
That's a different approach.
It is. They say it reduces the pressure and anxiety. They also suggest, get this, pretending emails are letters.
Letters. Like snail mail.
Yeah. So, you take your time to respond. You're more thoughtful about your replies.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's about slowing down the pace of communication.
Exactly. Embrace the idea of being slow to respond. Resist that urge to answer immediately.
It's a different mindset for sure.
And then be sure to reset expectations with colleagues. Communicate that you might not respond right away. Set boundaries.
Create a more sustainable work environment.
Exactly. And for those communications that don't need a reply, consider setting up a send-only email address.
Oh, that's smart. So you're not getting all those unnecessary replies cluttering up your inbox.
Right. And finally, they recommend taking vacations off the grid, fully disconnecting from email and everything else.
A true digital detox.
Yeah, exactly. Give yourself permission to unplug. They even go so far as to suggest, like, locking yourself out of your email account during certain times.
Wow, that's commitment.
It is. But it highlights the importance of, setting those boundaries.
Okay, so what about TV? Any tactics for that?
Oh, they have a bunch. First up, ditch the news.
Ditch the news again.
Yeah. They say TV news, it's often just filled with negativity and anxiety.
I can see that. It can be pretty overwhelming.
So instead of having your TV as the focal point of your living room, try putting it in a less prominent location.
So it's not the first thing you see when you walk in.
Right. Or try ditching the TV altogether and get a projector instead.
A projector?
Yeah, because setting it up takes more effort, so it makes watching a more deliberate activity.
Oh, so you have to think about it more. You're not just mindlessly turning on the TV.
Exactly. They also suggest going a la carte with your entertainment. So rent or buy specific shows or movies rather than subscribing to those all-you-can-eat streaming services.
So you're being more intentional about what you watch.
Right. And if you're feeling really adventurous, try setting your TV free altogether. Experiment with going without it for a while.
Wow, a complete TV detox. I'm not sure if I could do that.
It might be tough, but it can be really eye-opening. So now let's delve into their tactics for finding flow. That state of deep concentration where you're completely absorbed in what you're doing. And their first suggestion is a simple one. Shut the door.
Close the door, okay.
It creates a physical barrier, but also a psychological one, signaling to yourself and others that you're entering a focused work zone.
I can see how that would help minimize distractions.
They also recommend inventing deadlines.
Inventing deadlines.
Yeah, even if they're self-imposed. It creates that sense of urgency and accountability.
So you're using time constraints to your advantage.
Exactly. Another tip, explode your highlight.
Explode it.
Yeah, break those big, overwhelming tasks down into smaller, more manageable steps.
Oh, so it feels less daunting.
Exactly.
Good.
And try playing a laser soundtrack.
A laser soundtrack.
Yeah, like music that helps you focus. Put on your headphones, block out the world.
So you're creating your own little productivity bubble.
Exactly. Set a timer, a visible one, to keep yourself on track.
So you're not getting lost in perfectionism or getting distracted.
And resist the urge to use fancy tools.
Fancy tools.
Yeah, like all those complicated apps and software. Sometimes the simplest methods are the best.
Keep it simple, focus on the content.
And they even advocate for starting on paper sometimes. Disconnect from your devices and just brainstorm, write, sketch.
It's like going back to basics.
Exactly. Sometimes that's all you need. Now let's talk about staying in the zone once you've found that flow state. They suggest keeping a random question list.
Random question list. What's that for?
It's for all those distracting thoughts and questions that pop into your head when you're trying to focus.
Oh, I get it. So you jot them down so they don't derail your train of thought?
Exactly. You acknowledge them without letting them take over. They also have this simple mindfulness practice. Just notice one breath.
Notice one breath. That's it.
Yep, that's all. It brings you back to the present moment, helps you release those distracting thoughts.
It's like a mini meditation.
Yeah, exactly. They also suggest embracing boredom.
Embracing boredom?
Yeah, because sometimes boredom can be a catalyst for creativity. Allowing your mind to wander can lead to unexpected insights.
That's true. Sometimes when you're stuck, the best thing to do is step away and let your mind wander.
Exactly. They encourage us to, not be afraid to be stuck, to push through those challenges, because that's often where the breakthroughs happen.
So embrace the struggle.
Yes. And to prevent burnout, take a day off.
A day off?
Yeah, a full day off to rest and recharge. It's essential. And they also suggest sometimes going all in, fully immersing yourself in the task at hand.
So like really focusing on one thing at a time.
Exactly. It can actually boost your energy and focus. It's like finding that state of flow.
That makes sense. When you're fully engaged, you tend to have more energy and focus. Okay, so we've talked about highlight, laser. So what's next?
Well, the next element of the Make Time framework is all about recognizing that we're not just brains, we're bodies too. And that our physical well-being is intricately connected to our mental well-being.
Oh, that makes sense.
They argue that in modern life, we often neglect our physical needs, and that leads to decreased energy and focus. We're so used to prioritizing our mental efforts that we forget about our bodies.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in our heads and forget about taking care of ourselves physically.
And they draw a really interesting comparison to our hunter-gatherer
Oh,
ancestors.
like how so?
They say that, our bodies are still fundamentally wired for a life of movement, real food, quiet time, social connection, and restful sleep.
So we're basically living in a way that's very different from how our bodies evolved.
Exactly. We're living in this like sedentary, screen-dominated, overstimulated world, and our bodies and minds are still adjusting.
So there's this mismatch between our needs and our environment.
Right. And they advocate for what they call a caveman approach to building energy.
A caveman approach. Intriguing.
It's about returning to those basic principles that support our natural rhythms.
So like eating whole foods and moving our bodies more.
Exactly. It's not about abandoning all modern conveniences. It's about integrating those elements that actually promote our well-being. So let's break down their tactics for keeping our bodies moving. First up, exercise every day, but don't go overboard.
Keep it simple.
They emphasize consistency over intensity. Aim for 20 minutes of moderate activity each day.
So you don't have to become a marathon runner or anything.
Right. Just move your body regularly. They also encourage pounding the pavement.
Pounding the pavement.
Yeah, incorporating walking into your daily routine. It's a natural, low-impact way to get exercise.
Yeah, walking's great.
And they even suggest strategically inconveniencing yourself to create more opportunities for movement.
Inconveniencing yourself.
Yeah, like parking farther away from your destination, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, or walking or biking instead of driving when possible.
Oh, so it's about making those small changes that add up over time.
Exactly. And even if you don't have time for a full workout, try what they call squeezing in super short workouts.
Yeah.
Just incorporate bursts of activity into your day.
I like that. So a few squats here, a few push-ups there.
Exactly. Just get your heart rate up for a few minutes. Now let's talk about their advice on eating real food. They suggest following a hunter-gatherer approach to nutrition.
A hunter-gatherer approach. What does that mean?
Basically, it means prioritizing whole, unprocessed foods, like fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, healthy fats.
So the kinds of foods our ancestors would have eaten.
Exactly. And minimize those processed foods, sugary drinks, refined grains.
So cut back on the junk food and eat more real whole foods.
Exactly. They have this visual cue called Central Park Your Plate.
Central Park your plate. What's that?
Basically, you fill half your plate with salad or vegetables before adding anything else.
Oh, I see. So you're prioritizing those nutrient-rich foods.
Right. And they suggest exploring intermittent fasting.
Intermittent fasting.
Yeah. It's a pattern of eating where you cycle between periods of eating and fasting.
Oh, I've heard of that. It's supposed to be good for your health.
They say it can help boost energy and focus. And to avoid those energy dips, they recommend snacking like a toddler.
Snacking like a toddler. What does that mean?
Basically, be prepared with healthy snacks throughout the day. Like nuts, seeds, fruit.
So you're not reaching for those sugary snacks when you get hungry.
Exactly. And when those sweet cravings do hit, they suggest the dark chocolate plan.
That dark chocolate plan.
Yeah. Make dark chocolate your go-to dessert.
Oh, I like that plan.
It's rich in antioxidants and lower in sugar. Now let's talk about caffeine.
Okay, caffeine. Everyone's favorite topic.
They actually recommend waking up before you caffeinate. Let your body naturally produce cortisol first.
So don't reach for that coffee first thing in the morning.
Right. It helps maximize caffeine's energizing effects later on.
That's interesting. I usually need coffee to even function in the morning.
They also suggest caffeinating before you crash. Anticipating those times when your energy naturally dips.
So like, have a cup of coffee before that afternoon slump hits.
Exactly. And they even recommend trying caffeine naps.
Caffeine naps, what are those?
You have a small amount of caffeine right before a short nap. The caffeine kicks in as you wake up, so it's like a double boost of energy.
Huh, that's a new one. I'll have to try that. What about tea? Do they talk about tea?
Yeah, they suggest green tea as a gentler alternative to coffee.
Green tea. Okay, so it's a less intense caffeine hit.
Exactly. And to boost your focus during those important tasks, they recommend turboing your highlight.
Turboing your highlight. What's that?
Timing your caffeine intake to coincide with those times when you need peak mental performance.
Oh, that's smart. So use caffeine strategically.
And then, to make sure you're getting a good night's sleep, figure out your last call for caffeine.
Last call for caffeine. I like that.
Set a cutoff time that allows your body enough time to metabolize it before bed.
So you're not lying awake all night wired on caffeine.
Exactly. And they also recommend disconnecting sugar from your caffeine intake.
So no more sugary lattes.
Well, maybe just limit them. Choose unsweetened or minimally sweetened beverages to avoid those sugar crashes.
Makes sense. Sugar crashes are no fun. So we've talked about moving our bodies, eating real food, being strategic with caffeine. What else do they recommend for boosting energy?
Well, they also emphasize the importance of going off the grid sometimes.
Going off the grid.
Yeah, disconnecting from technology and reconnecting with yourself and the world around you. They suggest getting woodsy.
Getting woozy, you mean like spending time in nature?
Exactly. Even short periods of time in nature can reduce stress, improve your mood, and boost cognitive function.
I can definitely attest to that. Nature always makes me feel better.
And if you're not into traditional meditation, they suggest tricking yourself into meditating by using guided meditation apps or techniques.
So it feels less intimidating.
Exactly. They also recommend leaving your headphones at home and just embracing the sounds of your surroundings.
That's a good one. It's so easy to get lost in our own little world with our headphones on.
And to truly recharge, prioritize taking real breaks.
Real breaks.
Yeah, step away from your screens and do something that provides genuine rest and rejuvenation.
So like taking a walk, reading a book, talking to a friend.
Exactly. Just disconnect and give yourself a break.
I like that. It's all about being more mindful of how we're spending our time and energy. So we've covered movement, nourishment, rest, and disconnecting from technology. What else do they suggest for boosting energy?
Well, they also emphasize the importance of making things personal, prioritizing those aspects of life that bring you joy and connection. They recommend spending quality time with your tribe.
Your tribe.
Yeah, the people who energize you.
The people who make you feel good, who support you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Human connection is so important for our well-being. And they also recommend practicing mindful eating.
Mindful eating.
Yeah, so ditch those screens during meals.
Put away the phones and the TV.
Yep. Savor your food. Engage in conversation with the people you're with. Make mealtimes a chance to connect and appreciate.
I like that. Turn off the distractions and actually enjoy the experience.
Now let's talk about sleep.
Sleep. Everyone's favorite topic.
They call it sleeping in a cave. They have some great tactics for creating a haven for restful sleep. First up, make your bedroom a bedroom. Get rid of those screens.
No TV in the bedroom, no phones, no laptop.
Exactly. It eliminates those distractions and that blue light that messes with our sleep.
Right. Blue light is supposed to be really bad for sleep.
They also suggest faking the sunset.
Faking sunset.
Yeah. Dim the lights and reduce screen time in the evening to help your body produce melatonin.
Melatonin, that's the sleep hormone, right?
Exactly. It helps regulate your sleep-wake cycle. They also recommend sneaking in naps whenever you can.
Naps are the best.
I know, right? Even short naps can help you recharge and feel more alert.
It's like a little energy boost.
And to avoid jet lagging yourself, stick to a consistent sleep schedule, even on weekends.
Oh, that's a tough one. I like to sleep in on weekends.
I know, it's tempting. But our bodies really thrive on routine, and erratic sleep patterns can mess with our energy levels.
So consistency is key. Okay, got it.
And finally, and this is especially important for those of us who are caregivers or have a lot on our plates, they emphasize the importance of putting on your own oxygen mask first.
Taking care of yourself before taking care of others.
Exactly. It's not selfish, it's essential. If we're depleted, we can't effectively care for others.
I love how they frame self-care as an act of service.
It's a really empowering perspective shift. Okay, so we've covered highlight, laser, and energize. That brings us to the fourth element of the Make Time framework, which is reflect.
Reflect.
Yeah. Take a few moments each day to review what worked, what didn't, make the system your own.
So it's about personalizing it, figuring out what works best for you.
Exactly. Become a time management scientist. Experiment, observe the results, and adjust your approach accordingly.
That's a great way to think about it. We're all different, so what works for one person might not work for another. It's all about finding what works best for you.
And as you become more intentional with your time, you might even discover some new passions, some hidden strengths. They call these personal pivots.
Personal pivots.
Yeah, it's like as you create more space in your life, you open yourself up to new possibilities.
I like that. It's not just about getting more done, it's about creating a life that's more fulfilling and meaningful.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, what are your thoughts on the Energize tactics? What resonated with you the most?
I think the emphasis on taking care of our physical needs really stood out to me. It's easy to get caught up in the mental demands of life and forget that our bodies need attention too.
Totally agree. And what about you? What's one small experiment you're willing to try this week to boost your energy and well-being?
I think I'm going to try that fake the sunset thing. Start dimming the lights and reducing screen time in the evening and see if it helps me sleep better.
Great idea. I might try that too. Yeah, it's amazing how those little tweaks to our daily routines can make such a big difference in how we feel. Before we wrap up our deep dive into make time, let's circle back to those personal pivots we talked about earlier.
Right, those unexpected changes that can happen when we start being more intentional with our time.
Like as we reclaim those hours, we might stumble upon new passions or discover talents we didn't even know we had.
It's like creating space for the unexpected. Instead of just going through the motions, you're actively shaping your life.
Exactly. And remember Jake's story, how he initially just wanted to be more productive, but then he discovered this love for writing and ended up becoming an author.
Yeah, that's a great example. It shows how powerful it can be to reclaim your time. It's not just about getting more done, it's about making room for the things that truly matter to you.
So as we wrap up our exploration of make time, what are the biggest takeaways for our listeners? What are the key things they should remember?
Well, I think the most important thing is that reclaiming your time and attention, it's not a one-time fix, it's a journey. It's about experimenting, finding what works for you, and being willing to adjust as your life changes.
Absolutely. The make time system, it's a framework, not a rigid set of rules.
Exactly. It's about adapting those tactics to fit your own needs and preferences. There's no one-size-fits-all approach.
And as we implement these strategies and make more space in our lives, who knows what we might discover? We might find ourselves on new paths, pursuing passions we never thought possible.
That's what's so exciting about it. These small changes to our daily habits can actually lead to big shifts in our lives, helping us create a life that's more aligned with who we are and what we want.
I love that. So before we go, let's distill the key insights from Make Time into a nice, concise 10-point summary for our listeners. Ready?
Okay, let's do it. Number one. Modern life is a constant battle for your time and attention between the busy bandwagon and those infinity pools.
Number 2, you can take back control using the Make Time system. Highlight, laser, energize, and reflect.
Number 3, start each day by picking one highlight. That's the one task or activity that you want to prioritize above everything else.
Number 4, use those laser tactics to protect that highlight time from all those distractions that are going to pop up.
Number 5, energize your brain by taking care of your body, move, eat real food, rest, spend time in quiet, connect with people.
Number 6, design your day hour by hour so you're not constantly making decisions and getting sidetracked.
Number 7, unplug regularly. Disconnect from technology to recharge and reconnect with yourself and the world around you.
Number 8, prioritize face-to-face time with the people who energize and support you.
Number 9, turn your bedroom into a sleep sanctuary by removing screens and sticking to a regular sleep schedule.
And finally, number 10, reflect on what works, what doesn't, and remember that even small changes can lead to big results when you're consistent.
It's all about taking those small steps one day at a time to create a life that's more intentional and fulfilling.
So there you have it, the Make Time framework in a nutshell. The power to change your relationship with time is in your hands. You can design a life that reflects your values and your dreams. So as we wrap up this deep dive, we leave you with one question. What small experiment will you try this week to make time for what truly matters to you? Remember, every journey begins with a single step. Thanks for joining us.